Hello and welcome to the She Reads Romance Books podcast, the ultimate show for romance book lovers looking for the best books worth reading. I'm your host, Leslie Murphy, and in each short episode, I share my favorite book list of recommendations so you know exactly what to add to your must-read list. Join me as I explore the romance genre and have fun collecting book boyfriends along the way, because life is better with a love story. Hello, romance readers! I'm so loving today's episode where I'm featuring romance books with toys where dildos get in on the action. Yep, I'm going there and you're coming with me. I can't believe I just said that. See, we're already off to a great start already. Anywho, yes, today I'm talking about some of my favorite romance books where the characters are not afraid to bring a toy into the mix, because why not? Now, let me preface this by saying that these are actually really fun books, meaning they aren't all erotic romances, but just some fun rom-coms that I think help normalize how some couples like to add a little bit extra from time to time. So without further ado, because I know you're anxious to hear about these books, I'll dive into book one on my list of romance books with toys, which is Act Your Age, Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert. Miss Hibbert, you totally surprised me with this book when the dildo made the appearance, but I loved it. This book, after reading it, became one of my all-time favorites because I just love the story and the characters. Act Your Age, Eve Brown is an opposites attract romance. It's book 3 in her Brown Sisters series, but this was the first book that I read, though I really need to circle back to the other two, and I hope they're just as good. This is about Eve, who is an adult living in her parents' home and without a steady job. She feels like she's always messing up and letting her parents down because she's not really successful at anything. And at the beginning of the story, she's given quite a harsh talking to from her parents, who basically force her out of the house and cut her off, hoping that she can make something of herself, essentially. I mean, no one wants to be called an embarrassment by their parents, so my heart totally lurched for this woman, who I could tell was really just a big sweetheart in this story. Of course, her streak of messing up continues in a pretty epic way when she goes to apply for an open chef position at a bed and breakfast, and she ends up hitting Jacob, the owner, with her car after the failed interview. Now, poor Jacob has no choice but to keep her around then, moving her into a spare bedroom since he's pretty much out of commission. So Eve is this sunny, wild thing, and Jacob is this frosty, closed-off man, both of which are on the spectrum, and they're thrown into this forced proximity situation where the banter in this romance book was really off the charts. It was awesome. I'm already loving, right, the interaction between these two, and their chemistry is so obvious. But then Talia throws in this scene where Jacob is in her room with her and he sees her dildo, and oh my gosh, it just goes from there, and it's so good. I was not expecting that in this book, but the scene was amazing, and these two were just super sexy with one another. You're just going to have to pick it up to get the full details, but trust me, it's worth it. On to book 2 on my list of romance books featuring toys where the dildos come out to play is Taking a Shot by J.C. Burton. I was trying to remember actually if this was the first book I read where a dildo made an appearance, and I think it was, so I guess it holds a special place in my heart. This is part of her play-by-play series, which is one of the first romance book series that I binge read, honestly, from start to finish. And I love that when a series just grabs you and you can't help but read them all. It is a sports romance featuring an NHL hockey player and a woman who runs her family's sports bar. Jenna is no stranger to pro athletes, as her two brothers are athletes. One is a pro football player and another is a pro baseball player, but she herself wants nothing to do with any pro athletes herself. But then Tyler becomes a regular in her sports bar after his games, and he's pretty hard to miss. I really enjoyed how Tyler could sense that Jenna wanted more out of her life, and he really gave her the encouragement she needed to help figure that out and make some changes. So this is honestly a really great couple. And then at one point, they're making out in her living room, and she decides to go grab a little something extra so that she can feel full, if you get my drift. And you go, Tyler. He's like, heck yes, I'm all for you bringing in your dildo and giving you that something extra. So JC is really all about the steaminess, and she totally brought it in this book and in that scene in particular. So I highly recommend this book to check out how they have some fun with a dildo. Book 3 on my list is Wicked Wish by Sawyer Bennett, which is part of her Wicked Horse Las Vegas series. I love her Wicked Horse books in both the original Wicked Horse series and the Wicked Horse Las Vegas series. This is actually a brother's best friend romance, which I know is a popular trope many romance readers love. But Jorinda, if I'm saying her name correctly, I'm not really sure. She was, living the life she always thought she was supposed to, right? But then her husband tells her that he's not satisfied with her, pretty much saying she's crap in bed. So after that moment, she's sort of left without a home, without a marriage, obviously a very sore ego, and ends up moving to Nevada, where her friend convinces her finally to get back out there. And what better way than a masquerade party at a sex club? Okay, you go, girl, Jorinda. And potential total spoilers coming up, I should warn you. You don't have to wait long for the dildo scene in this one, because Jorinda that night is captivated by this masked man at the club who goes into one of the observation rooms where there's this contraption on display, and he's looking for a volunteer to test it out. It's basically this dildo on steroids. And of course, Jorinda is selected without him realizing that she is his best friend and business partner's sister, but there you go. And once the masks come off, they realize who each other is. They want to fight their attraction given the forbidden nature of their connection, but they really can't, and it's fun. It's a hot romance with quite that scene at the beginning. So definitely check this one out, especially if you like Sawyer Bennett books. Book 4 on my list of romance books featuring toys is a fun one, and that's Right Man, Right Time by Megan Quinn. I mean, if you've read any of Megan Quinn's romance books, you have to know that really nothing is probably off limits for her, and she's probably going to give it to you in the best and funniest way possible. This book is a hockey romance, age gap, and fake relationship romance. This is book 3 in her Vancouver Agitator series, where Ollie is a college girl whose ex is now dating her nemesis. So when she sees him in a bar, she goes up to the hottest guy there and kisses him to make them both jealous. And the guy just happens to be NHL star Silas Taters, who goes along with the ruse and then decides he wants to continue their fake relationship so that he can then save face when he runs into his ex. I adore romance books with strong, confident heroines, and that's definitely Ollie, who is someone who loves sex and isn't shy about it. She's got an entire collection of toys, I think, if I remember correctly, at her bedside. And Taters is happy to have them all make an appearance, either with them together or while they're FaceTiming. So you go, Ollie. I love how she made sure she got her needs met, and she snagged a good one in Taters. moving on to book 5 on my list of romance books featuring toys and dildos is Full Service by Penny Wilder. Now, this is a very short novella, a short story, really, but one not to miss because it was so much fun and, of course, pretty steamy because Wilder wrote it. This story follows Kara, who is working at an adult toy store called The Pleasure Chest, and a pretty hunky guy walks in and asks her about a particular toy, but she's never used it or any toy, so he decides to buy it for her and says he'll be back tomorrow to hear what she thinks of it. Holy moly, people. But yeah, she decides to do just that, and it doesn't stop with just one toy. And the story culminates with a pretty cool restaurant scene. So when I say this book, albeit short, is about toys and dildos, I'm really not kidding. It's pretty much all that it's about. And it was fantastic. So definitely check out Full Service by Penny Wilder. And that book wraps up my list. So I hope you enjoyed it and it gave you maybe a few ideas and, of course, books to add to your TBR list. Happy reading! That's all for this episode of the She Reads Romance Books podcast. I hope you enjoyed it and found some new books to add to your TBR list. If you did, please subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast app. It really helps me reach more romance book lovers like you, and I appreciate your support. If you're a book boyfriend collector like me, then you'll want to join my email list so you never miss a podcast episode or a new book list. Just visit shereadsromancebooks.com/join and sign up today. As a thank you, I'll instantly send you my list of top 10 book boyfriends that will make you swoon. Trust me, you don't want to miss this list. Thank you for listening, and until next time, happy reading.